Which product is intentionally made worse to meet the demands of stupid consumers? CVT transmissions. First ones would smoothly change the gear ratio, keeping the engine at optimal RPM and providing continuous acceleration. But customers miss the feel of the sawtooth acceleration of traditional gear changes, with the gaps between each gear, so manufacturers had to simulate that with software. That should be an option if true. Cisco added some white noise hiss to their IP telephony products because it was too quiet and people weren't sure the phones were working. That one kinda makes sense. You wouldn't want to know if you got disconnected or not while on hold. Not a product but the sale of products. Everything has to end in a 9 instead of even dollars and things are perpetually on sale to make people think they're getting deals. JCPenney tried, and hilariously failed, at simplifying the shopping with fair and square. Instead of everything always being on sale with sales and coupons, they'd give the even price of what the sale would be. Sales dropped sharply. People would rather buy a pair of Arizona jeans MSRP'd at $44.99, 25% off with an additional 15% off, and a 10% off coupon from Sunday's paper instead of buy it fair and square priced at $25. This always makes me sad. I would do all my routine clothes shopping there if that was still an option. I always smile a little inside when I go to a restaurant and the prices are in whole numbers. At least some people get it. Women's clothing. I like my clothes to last, so I tend not to shop at bargain places like, say, Primark. £3 for a t-shirt, £5 a dress or top, £7 a slightly better dress, £12 jeans, because I find they go bobbly in the wash very quickly and they fade. But then, I realize H&M, Zara, Mango, New Look, Next, River Island, all were doing the same thing. The seams come apart after 3 wears. The fabric fades and bobbles. I've started to see things lose their elasticity and shape, which I've not seen before. Yet my husband's got Zara, Mango and H&M clothes that have lasted years. He doesn't wash them on the delicate cycle in a little delicate bag. He hurls them in at 40 for the full couple-hour wash and they come out pristine. No fading, no bobbling. His jeans are 13 years old. Mine lost their shape after 4 weeks. Same brand. I wanted some knitted cotton stuff for a particularly cold winter. I can't bear that itchy knitted acrylic or polyester. Men's depth. Full of knit cotton. Women's? None. Even high-end brands were selling polyester knitwear. Alas, I can't shop in menswear. I'm too small. I guess they feel that women change their clothes so often that they don't need to last. That women won't wear the same top for 5, 6, 7 years, so it doesn't need to last that long. It'll be bagged up for charity or thrown in the trash before it reaches its 5-wash lifespan. But this saddens me. When I have an item I like, I end up saving it for best because I know I'm only going to get to wear it 5 or 6 times before it bobbles to death and becomes can't wear it in public wear. I have a burgundy blouse that lost its shape on the 4th or 5th wear. Now looks really weird, and had to retire a green tunic top thing after it faded so bad it looks like off-white. 3 wears. TDLR. Womenswear is considered disposable and they don't make any effort to make items long-lasting, as they feel that's not what customers want. This 100x. To add to this, 1. The inability to find high-quality clothes in certain sizes. That is, you gotta be either small or plus size. 2. $10 for super thin see-through shirts that you will need to layer, so now instead of $10 a shirt, it's $20 to wear them out in public. I can't stand it. This is why jeans and band tees are my go-to. Both tend to last me quite a while for some reason. The way they advertise any type of technology. I just want the specs, but you just want to tell me it's better than the last model. But look at the bar chart with no labels on the axis. It's a bigger bar, therefore better. Some things that have been bothering me. Vacuum cleaners. Intentionally made louder because people think the louder, the more powerful. Also, they intentionally waste energy because people buy the ones with the most watts. Dish soap. Made to produce tons of foam, because people think more foam equals cleans better. Even though dishwashing would likely be easier without all that foam getting everywhere. Reminds me of something I read recently about toothpaste. People like suds because, as you said, suds equals better cleaning in people's minds. This required the addition of detergent, which made toothpaste taste like absolute crap, so they also added flavoring. I worked as a front-end developer for an ISP. I did mostly online troubleshooting and support flows. When a customer typed in their credentials and we analyzed their connection, the analysis took between 600 milliseconds and 1800 milliseconds, roughly a half to 2 seconds. We had to show the analysis and progress animation for 8 seconds because users didn't believe in the result of the 0.6s1. Not sure if this is what you're after, but cake mixes. They could make ones that don't actually require eggs or oil to be added, but studies showed that women felt it was closer to homemade if you had to add 3 ingredients. 3 was the magic number that made it feel like less of a cheat. So now we all have to crack 3 eggs and measure out oil because a focus group in the 70s wanted cake mixes to be harder so they felt more homemade. I roll. When I have a taste for pancakes I use Aunt Jemima mix because all I have to do is add water to the mix, cook, then eat. If I'm using box I want it to be as easy as possible, that's why I'm cheating. Kinda. The shuffle button on iTunes was originally as random as computers can get. For the most part, people complained that it wasn't random enough. Apple made it less random so it appeared more random. I had a chemical engineering professor in college who would rant about how he had worked for years to make dry laundry detergent, the powder stuff, so that it was easier to store, ship, etc. Then it turned out people preferred to buy liquid detergent because they felt like it would work better. They literally just wanted to buy extra water. SMH. Whoa, I honestly never thought about this. The next time I need to buy detergent I'll buy the powder stuff. Thanks. Politicians. My friend's dad works in lobbying and says in his experience they are all very smart people. They just have to pander to dumb people to get votes. This is why I keep saying public education is at the heart of every problem with democracy. You need smart citizens to support smart decisions. Movies. Oftentimes, they tack on a needless love story, and if a movie doesn't follow the same basic story arc, with a huge dramatic conclusion, it's not going to be greenlit. Boy meets girl, girl gets boy into pickle, boy gets pickle into girl, roll credits. Transmissions. CVTs, continuous variable transmissions, transmissions that don't need to shift gears, have been around for quite some time and have been proven, without question, to optimize power delivery and fuel efficiency by keeping the car revving at a speed where it makes the most power. But consumers hate the feeling of their car never shifting. To them, it makes the car feel doggish and the sound of the engine at a relatively constant RPM feels so different than what most are used to. So car companies have basically and purposely ruined CVTs by making them shift and move through the power band, which almost entirely eliminates the whole point of the CVT. It's because people aren't good at feeling acceleration, but we can feel jerk very well. The simulated gear shifts introduce jerk, which makes the car feel faster, even if it is objectively worse. Clothing and shoes. To find anything even remotely neutral looking, functional, and comfortable, you have to wade through a sea of unnecessary decorations and rhinestone encrusted buffoonery. But this is especially difficult for women's clothing. In my experience, I just want a pair of pants with pockets that can fit my phone. After years of using DSLRs, I bought my first point and shoot camera for a hunting trip to Alaska. That thing had a dozen stupid modes that no one would ever find useful, yet not a bit of manual control over shutter speed and aperture. This is probably common knowledge by now, but when Microsoft initially released the Xbox 360, they knew about the defect that caused the red rings of death. It was an intentional decision to go ahead and release it without solving the issue first to beat the PS3 to market. It worked for a while, as the 360 outsold the PS3 for a few years. It is still surprising though that even after release, they waited so long to fix the issue because they started losing a fair amount of revenue due to warranty and replacements. Investments. In order to find clients, you can't offer them a complex strategy that professionals construct. You sell them some mainstream stock that they know, and pray it goes up so you can eventually convince them that you are a professional. I have a friend in Formula 1 who told me that recently they have put titanium plates attached to the back of many if not all of the cars. He said they try to provide a vague technical reason, but really the plates are popular because titanium creates sparks so the car looks cooler. Anything to get people to look at the sponsors, I guess. The plate itself is there for a good reason. To prevent teams from running too aggressive suspension setups, each car has to have such a plate at the bottom. After each race the plate is looked at to see if it is overly scratched from scraping on the ground. They used to be wood, but the switch to titanium is probably for the reason your friend mentioned. Microtransactions in games. They cut pieces out of games and sell them as DLC and microtransactions because there are stupid people who will pay for them. I don't mind DLC at all if it's reasonable, but this new loot box trend can frick right off. Febreze. It started out unscented and was intended to cover up bad smells. Consumers didn't get it, so they added some scent and now it sells like hotcakes. I would have loved something that covered up bad smells and didn't smell like a French whorehouse itself. They make unscented Febreze. They just never carry it in the local supermarket. You can find it on Amazon. Windex. It used to cut through grease, soap residue and whatnot, leaving a streak-free shine. Then they made it green. Now it barely budges grease. It smears soap and, when you're done, you have more streaks than glass. It took me a little too long to realize you were talking about the metaphorical green as in good for the environment. I was sitting here thinking but Windex is blue. Apparently chocolate makers in the US add butyric acid to their chocolate to give it the same acidic, vomit-like flavor as Hershey's. I heard that Harley-Davidson motorcycles are intentionally built in a certain way that causes them to be less efficient than a similar Japanese-made motorcycle. This is because some people really like the roar and the rumble of a Harley, even if it needlessly eats through more fuel. Some take the next step and mock the Japanese-made motorcycle for its whining engine, despite the fact it's just as fast and just as powerful. In some cases, faster and more powerful. The two fastest motorcycles in full production until the agreement to stop the SAMS race were the Honda CBR 1100XX Blackbird and the Suzuki Hayabusa. Both are Japanese made. American motorbikes don't even make the top 10. I was once told that when Bang & Olufsen introduced their beautifully designed audio systems to the US market that sales were poor. The solution was to put fake wood veneer on them. Vacuum cleaners. They could be very quiet using modern technology, but the quiet ones failed in the market, as they didn't sound powerful enough. They are making pretty quiet ones now. People are starting to trust it. Adding to that, vacuums are stupidly overpowered. For the same reason you just mentioned. People wouldn't believe a 500W can be just as powerful as a 1000W one. Apparently online financial transactions can happen instantly, but consumers didn't have confidence in them, so they built in a processing timer delay. It's completely unnecessary. Vanity sizing. Clothing companies want you to feel better about buying their clothes, so they lower the numbers on everything, or they have some crazy idea about what beauty is and raise the size numbers so certain people won't buy anything. I wish a size 5 could just universally be a size 5. I'm a 0 or 00 now at places like Old Navy. I'm 115, 5 feet 2, normal weight but not tiny by any means. If I lose any weight I'll have to shop at higher end places and spend more money, or shop in kids sections, but I don't like those styles. I was the same weight years ago and was a size 4. Pickup trucks. Now they all have 4 doors and short beds, cartoonishly bloated proportions and overly aggressive douchebag styling that's embarrassing to anyone with adult sensibilities. The ride height is the worst of this. I miss my 1980s Chevy S10 where I could actually walk up to it and drop things into the bed without climbing the dang thing or dropping the tailgate. Windows, the operating system. Windows 8 was the quintessential example of this. Man, it was like, here's a whole bunch of features that are the complete opposite of what power users want in their operating system. Also, this is the only way you can use it now without using some poorly implemented third-party solution that may or may not contain malware and will basically never be as efficient as the real deal. Awesome. Also, the original series of Twin Peaks got noticeably shittier because the network kept pushing dumb decisions on David Lynch instead of letting him just do whatever ridiculous thing he and Mark Frost felt like doing. The result of this is that the first 2 seasons are all over the place in quality. Thankfully, the new season hasn't done this and it's been phenomenal TV. I think I am the only person who liked Windows 8, but only because I was one of those 3 people who bought a Surface. With a handheld touchscreen, 8 is super easy and intuitive to use. With a mouse, Windows 8 makes me want to go on a whiskey bender. McDonald's French fries. Just listened to Malcolm Gladwell's podcast and apparently the product was far superior prior to 1990. Prior to that, the product was fried in beef tallow, but they caved to a single activist on a saturated fat crusade. Would love to have tasted the fries. Well, I did, but was too young to remember. The story I always heard is that McDonald's got sued by vegetarians because it tried to claim that its fries were suitable for a vegetarian diet. And obviously it's not if it's being fried in beef tallow. So maybe it wasn't just this one activist, but a combination of things that added up to make McDonald's change the way it did fries. Phones. People want high quality phones. What do we get? 4K screens, dual cameras and fingerprint scanners. For what? Playing Clash Royale and Pokemon Go : Tires. Tires are manufactured using a molding process, where a release agent is applied to the mold so that the formed tire can quickly and easily be removed from the mold. The problem is that the release agent leaves a residue on the tire, which gives the tire a nice shine, but also reduces traction until the tire is broken in. Fairly recently, past decade, the molding processes have been updated to no longer require a release agent. A few manufacturers started new lines of tires using the new process, and sales were dismal. The feedback from the shops was that most customers didn't like the dull look of the new tire, so opted for a shiny tire instead. Because of this, adoption of the new molding technique has been limited, reducing selection and raising prices for those of us who drive sports cars and ride motorcycles. In short, people are buying inferior tires because more shines, bro. The Star Trek reboot movies. Star Trek has always been about exploration and overcoming obstacles through intellect and cooperation. Starfleet officers are competent, diversely trained individuals, still capable of working in groups, but science and dialogue are boring. Competent protagonists over the age of 25 make moviegoers feel inferior, so the reboots have everyone scream and shoot their way through every situation. Plots revolve around accidental success. And God, does Kirk get the crap kicked out of him constantly. It's like someone wrote a decent new sci-fi franchise and the producers decided to swap all the names with ones from Star Trek. Anything with sodium lauryl sulfate, also known as SLS. It is used in men toothpaste, soap and shampoo to give them the ability to foam up. It is also a known irritant, with some people experiencing irritation and clogged pores on their face body because of its inclusion. The SAT was recently changed to match the ACT's policy of not penalizing wrong answers. I work in test prep, and we used to teach kids how and when to guess on the SAT, and now we just tell them to make sure every bubble is filled in. The reason they got rid of it is that the ACT had passed them in market share, and kids were afraid of the guessing penalty because that made the test seem harder. Of course, it's a norm reference test, meaning the scores are based on performance as compared to all other test takers, so the test can't get meaningfully easier or harder. What it can do, and what it did with this change, is get less accurate. I've heard quieter vacuum cleaners work just as well and customers perceive them as less effective than conventional loud AF vacuums. Could have been a corporate excuse to not invest in R&D and materials, but it sounds believable. Heard the same about bubbles in soap. They do nothing. We're just a byproduct we got used to seeing, but I haven't tried to verify. Crap, there's been a bunch of X thing was made louder or more inconvenient because people think it's working better in this thread, and I thought that's stupid, but of course to every one of them, until your soap one. I absolutely subconsciously think bubble less soap is somehow worse. Though I'd love a silent vacuum and won't automatically think it's worse, so I have that going for me. Hopefully I'm not late to the party. Anyway, TV stations don't show the programs they are named for. History Channel is aliens and antiques now. Animal Planet is people building stuff. Food Network is competitions. What happened to the days where the stations put on relevant programming? Back when I used to work on Nintendo DS games, I learned that saving your game to the card is almost instantaneous for 95% of games. Since the data to be written is only a few KB, the programmers would actually add a now saving progress bar pop-up etc that would take maybe 2-3 seconds because focus groups and QA testers wouldn't believe the game had saved properly without one. This applies to about 95% of game saves. The bar tracks nothing. It just runs on a timer. The only thing that progress bar is tracking the progress of is wasted time. I hate this trend of adding necessary transitions and progress bars. The mandatory training programs at work are absolutely horrible for it. The last one I did took 30 minutes to complete. Probably would have taken 5 if they cut out all the slow transitions. Okay, the mechanical engineering school that I went developed a new kind of press. Using different alloys, using a different structure. It was much lighter than a normal press for that application. They did present to market this product, expecting to make a deal to license the technology. All the market said, oh, this is too light, it won't stand, it will never sell, course the markets need a heavy duty machine. This is good for the school that uses lightly. Then they decided to have this solved. They changed the mold to be closed and poured concrete inside. Now it is a heavy duty, heavy looking and very heavy press. Idiots. Laptop screens. Before the switch to widescreen displays, many laptops had close to or better than 1080p displays already. These days, so many laptops come with 720p or 900p displays, where in the past they'd have had at worst a 1024x768, while many had 1280x1024/1400x1050 displays, and better ones had 1600x1200. Now it's near impossible to find anything better than 1080p until you're shelling out big bucks for a 4K display on a laptop. While this might be fine for your average consumer Facebooking and YouTubing, this shift has really sucked for writers and programmers using laptops, since the reduction in horizontal lines means less text can be fit on screen at any given time. I would like to maim all the people who make me have to click a button every time I want to use my sat nav, to acknowledge that I'll still be able to concentrate on driving, except they've probably already maimed themselves, the stupid suckers. Shaving cream in a can. A little while ago I switched to the shaving because it was so much cheaper. To my surprise, the shave quality was far better than expensive cartridges. But what blew me away was the quality of shave soap. I went all out and got a kit with a brush and bowl. I was shocked at how much slicker the soap was. I was even more blown away when I got a quality soap. Canned cream is foamy and dramatic. It is also touted as far more convenient. But in the end it isn't nearly as slick as a legit shave soap you whip up with a brush. My wife has recently made the soap switch and is amazed at the quality difference. Truth be told, it is cheaper too, unless you start collecting all the different scents. Yes, this is a thing. If you want to save money and get a better shave, make the switch and take a little time to learn the techniques. Your skin will thank you. I think someone already mentioned computers, but specifically, gaming computers and laptops. If you want a gaming PC on the range of $1,000 to $1,500, it's going to have a high-end processor and a medium-low-end graphics card, which will result in less than efficient gaming performance. It's basically the equivalent of having an electric Ferrari, but only charging it with your pedaling while you drive it. A lot of things with random number generators. If a video game, for example, gives you a 98% chance to hit an enemy and you miss, you're likely to cry balls, even if you've already hit 50 times in a row with the same probability. And likewise, if an enemy only has an 11% chance to hit and he hits you, you're going to feel bad and it'll feel unfair despite the chance being reasonably high. So a lot of games, like Fire Emblem, purposefully fudge the numbers by making high percent chance events even higher than they should be, and low percent chance events even lower than they should be. Vaccines. Preservatives removed to meet the demands of anti-vaxxers who believe they caused autism even though there is no evidence thereof. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.